Welcome to Leadership and Motherhood, the podcast for ambitious, high-achieving women navigating leadership in the boardroom and at home. I'm your host, Leanna Laskey McGrath, business leader, mom, and certified executive coach. I believe that every woman deserves to create a life and career on her own terms, one that she truly loves. This podcast is here to help you do just that. Let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership and Motherhood. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad you're here. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about what it really means to live an aligned life. This was such a beautiful conversation, and I am so excited to share it with you. My guest, Nemisha, spent 18 years climbing the corporate ladder in a highly male-dominated engineering environment. She did all the right things, the MBA, the promotions, the achievements, and on paper, it looked like success. But internally, Nemisha felt like something was off. She continued pushing through until a major health crisis stopped her in her tracks and forced her to slow down and re-examine everything. What I love about this conversation is how honest it is about that quiet whisper that so many high-achieving women feel, that sense that there's more, even when everything looks good from the outside and we're achieving all the things that we're supposed to be achieving. We talk about cultural expectations, identity, motherhood as a catalyst for change, and what happens when you realize you've been leading from who you thought you should be rather than who you truly are. In this conversation, we talk about ambition, but redefining it. We talk about discomfort as a gift and about having the courage to choose alignment with our own personal values and calling over the approval of others and what other people think of us. So if you have ever felt successful and unsettled at the same time, as I'm sure many of us have, then this one is definitely for you. Let me tell you a little bit more about my guest. Nemisha Patel Owen is passionate about helping people live their true selves while doing what they love. After 18 years in leadership roles at NATS, the UK's air traffic control provider, a period of illness invited her to reassess life and what truly matters. In 2019, she launched her own coaching business and has been growing since then. Through mindset coaching, meditation, yoga, and her online platform, Yoga Life with Nemisha, she supports high-achieving women to think clearer, feel calmer, and grow from the inside out in a gentle, spiritual way. I know you'll love this conversation with Nemisha as much as I did. Let's dive in. I have with me Nemisha Patel Owen, and she is joining us from the other side of the world from me, outside of London in the UK. And I'm just so excited to have her here today. So welcome, Nemisha.
Thank you so much for having me, Leanna. It's so lovely to be with you here.
Yes, likewise. I'm so excited. I know that when we met, I loved hearing your story. And I also just you have the most soothing voice. So just for everyone listening, just sit back, get a cup of tea, sit by the fire, and just listen to Nemisha. So can you tell us about you, Nemisha, a little bit about your background and story?
First of all, let me just say again, I'm super grateful to be here. So pleased and excited to share my story and my energy with you. And what a lovely way to do it on the podcast. I am a mum of two beautiful children and a mindset and meditation coach. So very much a spiritual seeker, you could say. But the journey didn't quite start like that. I spent 18 amazing years in corporate, working for the UK's air traffic control, so the equivalent of the FAA, I guess. Straight out of university, climbed the corporate ladder, did really, really well, met my husband, had two kiddos. And I guess during that time, it was very much about doing, if I can put it like that, collecting all the achievements and accolades and certificates, did lots of professional development, did my MBA, did all the things that I thought were the right things to do. And of course, they were at that time and that season. in this time of my life, I can see that on the outside, it looked like success and it looked like a great path. And why wouldn't I carry on? But I have to genuinely say, towards the latter part of my career, on the inside, I kind of was getting to a state where I wasn't really feeling like myself. And, there was just something calling, something whispering inside. I had no idea what that was, but I just carried on. And this is all I knew, I think, at the time. But it wasn't until we had our second child, so my son was 1, and actually, like, backtrack. Actually, it was my maternity leave, my second maternity leave, where I was really questioning the corporate rat race, and is this how it's going to be? My daughter was in nursery, and I was constantly go, 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 quite pregnant. But then on maternity leave, it was almost like the penny was dropping. It was like, okay, how are we going to manage 2 children and do all the things? I was super ambitious, still am. But I just felt like there was more for me, but I didn't know what I could do.
Yeah. Well, growing up, was it always kind of expected that you would go into business and get your MBA and everything like that? Like, is that what was the path that was charted for you, or did you chart that path on your own?
I would say it's a bit of both. I'm Indian in terms of background, and education is really important. And so, growing up, it was always about education and following the path and really having education as your foundation. And then, of course, there were some expectations societally in terms of, and then what do? You get a job, and then you settle down, you have a family and all the things. But I always saw that in a positive way, and I was always driven. So I was that kind of quiet but confident type, quite astute, but not very smart, if I can put it like that. Like, I had to work really hard. I wasn't that type of person who could just fluke their way through things. I really had to put my head down and do the work. And that was the kind of the identity, I guess, I gave myself, which served me until it didn't, which worked and worked. And then I was like, no. This could be different. Like, this doesn't have to be so hard. I followed my path, I think, until I saw that there was actually a different path. Like, I could choose the path.
I'd love to hear more about, like, when you said you weren't feeling like yourself.
Yeah.
What were you feeling like, or what was going on for you?
It's almost like the first time over that sort of period, 18 years, but the latter part of it, it was this real kind of, is this who I am? Or it's like this just questioning of, who am I? And I know I worked in quite a male-dominated environment. In terms of my trade of air traffic, I was actually on the engineering side. So there's even more sort of male, and it was quite middle-aged. So I often found myself in rooms where, like, I was the only female. At the time, I was probably the only under 30, under 35. And then I was the only non-white person as well. So it was like all these moments where I was kind of like, what am I doing here? But it didn't really tweak, like, it didn't dawn on me that there was a different version of me, or there was a truer version of me, if I can put it. It's not different, that I hadn't unpacked, really. I think a lot of my time, it was very much from a place of conforming and following the rules, following the process, being who I thought I needed to be and who I should be, and letting that lead me versus actually, there's a rebel in me, this sort of inner spirit that I hadn't really tapped into. She piped up every so often, and there was chapters in my life, like, I know she was the guide, like, she showed up and led my path, but it was very, very few and far between. But then it was also, if I flipped it on its head, it's like, no, let's connect with this truer version of me. Like, who is she? What is she about? And actually, it came about, if I may, I describe it as a gift wrapped in sandpaper, in that I went back to work after maternity leave, and I kind of gave myself 3 to 4 months. I went back in the January, and then I said, right, I'll give it until end of March, which is like a financial year, and then I'll decide, like, what am I going to do? It was kind of stay or go sort of thing. I couldn't figure it out. And I carried on and I plodded along, and I was open, I opened myself to opportunities, but it was still like, what would you do anyway? What makes you think you can? And why would you leave such an amazing career and all the security and everything you know and all the things. And we went on holiday in the Easter and I got sick. And it was nothing to do with nothing, if you know what I mean. I literally just got sick, but I got a cocktail of 3 different viruses. And for the first time, I was off sick from work. And like initially, it was like 2 weeks. We have sick notes, and the doctor writes you a sick note essentially to say you're unfit to go to work. And I was just not well. And then he would write me a 1 month. And in the end, I was off work for 6 months
Oh, wow.
for the first time ever. Yeah, like in all my career, like it was like, oh. But as I say, it was the best thing that ever happened because during that time, I kind of immersed myself with myself. Like I sat up at my kitchen table, like my diary, no inbox, no nothing. Just me and myself sat on my kitchen table. And I kind of see it as like God's way of telling me something, which was like, slow down, figure out what you're about. And by the way, you better get better first. It's like, okay. So I immersed myself into wellness and meditation and yoga. Being Indian, culturally, we have that element of practices available to us, but I hadn't really experienced it that way. And my mum, bless her, she I'd speak to her every day and she'd be like, do this mantra and do this mantra and do these beads. And she was like just offering me all these spiritual practices from a place of like trying to get myself better. And so I just leaned into so much of that goodness. And it was the best thing ever. Like I have to say, like I really found so much goodness, and it pretty much just shifted everything.
Yeah. So it sounds like from your own healing journey, you were just trying to get better. You found what you wanted to be doing a lot more focused on.
Yeah, I guess that the main question I just sat with was, well, what I was asking myself was, who am I? And what's my purpose?
Yeah.
It's almost like there's two ends of the spectrum. They're simple questions, and yet they're so deep questions when you ask yourself and you contemplate it in a way that will change and shift your trajectory, going forward for life. It's like a new pair of glasses.
Yeah.
So that's what I sat with. And there's a beautiful text in the Vedic culture, the Bhagavad Gita, which is a particular book that is actually widely known. And it's like referred to as the guidebook for life. And that was really what I turned to. It was like the concepts and the teachings of discovering, who you are and what's your purpose.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I sat with. And then so much sort of came to me beautifully. It came within, if I can put it like that. There was lots of Googling,
Yeah.
I have to say, and lots of reading and lots of insight. But the depth came from really me honouring the truest version of myself, which I hadn't really connected with.
Yeah. Like you said, they're simple questions, but they're not easy questions to answer. They're very complex. And I think that a lot of times we don't ask them for a couple of reasons. One, because we simply don't have time or make time to do that, right? Like we're just going so fast that until we have been forced to pause in your situation, right? Or we decide to take an intentional pause on life so we can just sit down and like sit with those questions. It doesn't feel like there's much time to really spend asking that, because it's like, well, what's that going to change? I just got to go. Like I've got to get through this to-do list. And I think also there's probably, maybe less consciously, but there's probably a bit of a fear of what we might find out, of the things that we might want to change as a result of understanding, oh, this thing that I'm doing actually isn't my purpose or isn't aligned with who I am. And now I have to make a decision. And that feels harder than just staying in the inertia of going the way that I have been going.
So true. It really is so true. And it does require courage, I think, and a lot of honesty with yourself is a really good point to bring out, actually. It's also so liberating, just so freeing,
Absolutely.
it really is. a piece of work, and it's not even work, but it's, I'll use your word if I may, but it's like connection with yourself, but with something more than yourself, if that makes sense. It's like in
Mhm.
connecting with your true self, actually you're connecting with something far, far greater. And it's whatever you believe, there's no set way, but you just see that. For me, I certainly saw that I'm here on this planet to make an impact and a difference. And life is short, getting sick. I had a few scares and I had lots of tests and pokes and prodded and, got tested for all sorts of things. So there was a time where I was fearful that I could be diagnosed with something that could be a long term thing. Anything could have transpired. And, here I was with a 1 year old and a 4 year old who are my life and soul with my husband. And it was like, I'm going to do something meaningful. Like, I'm going to follow my heart. I'm going to follow my purpose. Like, even though I don't even know what it looks like, it's so new, it's so raw. But whatever is calling to me, whatever is coming out of me, I'm going to see it and I'm going to just see where it goes.
Yeah.
I got help as well. That was when actually I first got a coach outside of work, if I can put it like that. So it was a coach for me versus a coach for performance.
Right, right.
So in corporate, it was probably more of a mentor, if I can put it like that, but it was always about performance. How can you do better? How can you do better? And how can you achieve more as a focus? But this was like, no, let's talk about you. Like, how are you feeling? Let's talk about what's happening with you and your thoughts and feelings. And it's like, oh, this is different. So that was really, yeah, what helped me open up so much of what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Together with the meditation. So I would do my own inner work, but then for me, I'm someone who welcomes and appreciates talking things out to help me process, to help me make decisions.
Yeah.
It wasn't a solo thing, if you know what I mean. It was like, no, 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 I had help. I was guided.
Yeah. Well, I love that distinction because I think that we might have a coach for our performance or at work and trying to do better and perform more and produce more. And then you're saying, but no, I invested in myself in terms of like what I need, not only for my contribution to that company or, to the workforce. So then what happened after the 6 months? You kind of realized, I want to do something different. I don't know what it is. So then what did it look like from there?
So I had all the imposter. I had all the imposter and all the doubt. In that chapter, I slowly, slowly accepted that this was reality. I think after being signed off work for 2 months, it was like, okay, like this is real. And I kind of just made peace with the fact that work is work. I have to focus on getting better. It took me some time and I felt guilt, in terms of, oh my gosh, but I had all this stuff and I was leading A, B, and C. And then it was just like, you know what? Just let that go. Like, that is not important. They're going to survive without me. I need to do me. I need to focus on me. And of course, work was just super brilliant and very, very supportive. So I had nothing to concern myself with on that side. I just sat with myself. I connected with me. I had so many realizations. I discovered the power of mindset first and foremost, and where that came from was the doctors telling me that, having various tests and, oh my God, copious amounts of blood tests and all sorts, that someone for my age and well-being and all the things, I should be getting better. And all the tests were coming back negative in terms of like, we were kind of ruling things out to say, okay, it's not this, it's not this, it's not this, because they couldn't figure out what it was. And the extent of it, if I may, Leanna, was I lost my voice. So it was all here. So I completely lost my voice.
Oh, like literally.
Like literally, yeah. And I have got this video. I'm pretty sure it's on my YouTube channel, but it was like, I just did this video and I think I must have been so lonely, but equally like I wanted to give something to someone. And it was weird. And I just literally put my phone out there and I just recorded a video of me just talking about my experience and what is helping me. And it was real and raw, but like my voice, when I hear it, it just gives me goosebumps. But yeah, so essentially my voice was just completely gone. And there was an element of fatigue and tiredness in my body. But otherwise I was up and about, I was able to function, I was sorting the kiddos out, like I was here. But the doctors saying that made me realize that, hold on a minute, this is on me. I need to get myself better. And I had all the fears like, what if, what if, what if? What if I don't make it? What if I do have this condition? Or what if I do get diagnosed with A, B, or C based on the tests I was going for? But I realized that wasn't helping me. And anyway, the tests were coming back negative like every time. So like, like I was telling my family, like, okay, like what's happening? And then it was like, okay. So then it was like, okay, this is on me. The only person that's going to get me better is me. I need to get myself better by fueling my mind and fueling my body. And that's where meditation and yoga was like my lifeline more than anything. And I just had all these discoveries. And, like it was really weird. Every day I'd go for a walk. Because as I say, imagine like I'm just sitting at my kitchen table, journaling, pen and paper, contemplating. So the kiddos were at their respective places. My husband was at work. So during the day, I'd kind of sit there and I'd almost got myself into a new routine of fueling my mind, body and soul.
Yeah.
And and it was sort of summertime at that time. And I'd go for a walk and I had this realization, which was there's no ceilings outside. It's just like, what? But I feel like for so much of my life, I had spent in an office or in a room or in a, like inside or contained physically, but also like externally, but also internally. And in my walks, day by day by day, like I just opened myself up to this world of like blue sky and clouds and sun and nature and how many colors of green there are. And it was just like, oh, like birds. And I said it to my husband, I was like, I just don't recall hearing the birds in this way. Like they are talking to me. And that might sound all really bizarre, but I had just some amazing moments because I was able to just zone out of something that consumed so much of me and open myself up to the beauty of life, just the way it is.
I love that.
Going back to your question, the 6 months, I just kept going. I will get better, change my thinking, really worked, released quite a lot of probably tension, tightness, trauma, whatever it might be in my body, accepted, did a lot of kind of, it is what it is, and this is how it's meant to be. And that is a big thought I come back to over and over again. And this idea of like, this is happening for me. And this is how, when I talk about it, I really do describe it as a gift wrapped in sandpaper. Because at the time, I promise you, it was, I was on my knees, like I really didn't know what would happen. I had no idea. My husband, my children, my family were just so supportive. But I knew that I'll figure it out. Like I'm not giving up. I think that was probably the key thing. I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with me. It was like this idea when they kept on coming back to me, it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with me. Why am I not getting better? So I stopped asking the question of why am I not getting better? I'm very much like, okay, so how am I going to get myself better? And that's where, again, just really following the path of slowly. And the concept of helping people through change came to me, which was, we're all experiencing change, whether that's a career change, a relationship change, a health change, becoming mums. Like there is so much change in life. And interestingly, in my corporate days, I was actually a change practitioner, and I'd done certifications, whatever, in that field, but it was very much about organizational change. And I realized this is people change. This is about helping myself navigate through this and coming through this just connected with a truer version of me, a stronger version of me, a more wiser, spiritual, whatever it might be. Like there's so many parts to it. And I want to help other people do the same.
Yeah.
And that was it. And it was like in some guise or other, again, probably for the last 2 or 3 years of my corporate career, that's what I was doing. I was helping people navigate through change but it was very much technology change because the company was going through a lot of technology change, and people, the controllers and the engineers had to change the way they were doing their roles in terms of the equipment they were using, in terms of processes and procedures. And then it dawned on me, it's like, oh my gosh, I've been helping people from that way. Like, what if I help people more from an internal perspective, like helping people go within to navigate through life changes, which we don't often do. We don't give airtime to. We just expect that we're just meant to figure it out. And it's like, who said you're just meant to figure it out? Like, it takes work. Like, you get to contemplate and sit with it.
If you were to like write a recipe for what you did in terms of helping yourself to not only get better physically, but also figure out what it is that you wanted to actually be doing. I heard you say taking time to contemplate. So asking questions and taking the time to answer them and contemplate them, connecting with yourself, connecting with nature. I think when you talk about change as kind of the overarching or undercurrent of the theme, there's so much change that happened here because you really changed your lens, like you said, noticing the different colors of green, which had always been there. The birds were always singing. You just had a different lens, right? You were just tuned in to something different and focused on something different. So you weren't able to notice those things or hear those things. And so it's really changing the lens of what you're looking at and what you're looking for and what you're listening for and listening to. And this mindset change is so, so crucial for all of us of being in acceptance rather than resistance. And I wonder if, sometimes that's what causes illness sometimes for us or, ailments, because we're in so much resistance to reality. And of course, there's that famous saying, when you fight with reality, you're always going to lose. And so getting into a place of acceptance of like, these are the circumstances and the thing I can change is how I'm going to think about it. And how you chose to start thinking about it was that this is actually happening for me instead of to me, which I think, that shifts us out of the victim mentality and feeling like, oh, why is this happening? And this is so horrible. And why me? And, all these thoughts that are just so disempowering. And when we switch our lens to this is actually happening for me, and how could I benefit from this? How could I learn from this? What can I take from this? Even if I'm not ecstatic about the circumstances, even if it feels like a gift wrapped in sandpaper, there is always some kind of gold, in there, something to be extracted that can be for me and that can help me. Would you say that was kind of a summary of kind of like your recipe, or did I miss anything there?
No, I mean, that's beautiful. I love that. I think I did very much have the victim approach initially and for a while, I'll be honest with you. But once you can't unknow, you just know that this is not helping me. It doesn't make me feel good. And the key thing for me that kept me going is my kiddos. And they were young and they needed me. And so I put them, front and center in terms of my why, of like why I'm not giving up, why I'm going to get better, and why this kind of this element of calling, if I can put it like that, is meant to be, because it allows me to be the person, be the mum I want to be, like be there for their drop-offs and pickups and their nativities and their sports events and this and that, and not have to constantly be rushing around and dashing around, always feeling like it's never enough. And I wanted to have, the depth of relationship with my husband. And it was just like, I just couldn't have that with that kind of pressure I put myself in a corporate setting. Whereas like, hold on a minute, there's another way here. Like I could have both, I could do my own thing, which required a huge amount of courage and bravery. Like I promise you, as I said, it was just so liberating knowing that I could be there for the kiddos and follow my purpose and my path. I'm like, oh, this feels good, but so scary.
Yeah. Well, and I think those are the other two things. You said you got help, you had a coach, to help you and also that you were in charge?
Yeah, I think it was almost like, what am I in control of? I think that's how I would describe it now. I'm not sure at the time I necessarily put it like that. I think now I can see there was just this realization, I think, on my part. Actually, one of my lovely friends said it to me first. And she just said to me, I actually use it as a bit of a concept now, which was, what brings you energy, Nemisha? And that's what she just kept on saying to me. She's like, just do that. Leave everything else. Because I was still trying to do all the things, even if it was the simple things. I was still trying to show up and do, because that's the nature of who I was. But she was just like, well, if that doesn't bring you energy, she's like, just leave it. Like, I'm like, oh, what is that a thing? She's like, yep. She's like, you need to get yourself better. Things just got softer and softer in terms of my approach to doing and shifting to being. And again, this is like the concept that I really love to teach and comes out in my work. And even now, I still have to remind myself, it's not just do, like there's always things to do. Like we will always have that to-do list, but actually what feels good.
Yeah, you said at the beginning that the way that you were living was doing and collecting all the accolades. And so now, how would you describe it? And what's different about this way of approaching?
There's no right or wrong. I wouldn't necessarily say that,
Absolutely.
The key thing for me and the difference for me has come from a place of doing what feels good for me, doing what feels right for me in this season. Before children, life was different. When the kiddos were young, it was different. And now, like, my eldest is 12, my little boy is 9. It's different. And so for me, it's very much just a case of tuning into the version of me I want to be and letting that guide me and lead me. But also, if I may, the focus, it comes from a place of letting it be, if that makes sense. It's like just holding things lightly. Previously, for me, I held on tight to stuff in terms of expectations and, like how I expect it to go, what I expect myself to achieve, or how it should be having done all of this. And I think this version of me, and having done so much of this work, not only for me, but helping the people I help, also comes back to helping me. I just see that it is what it is. It's not good, it's not bad. It just is. And when we're doing it from a place of from our heart, we're giving, whatever that looks like for you, whether that's in entrepreneur world and business world, or whether that's in corporate, whatever your work is, just doing it from your heart. No expectation, no attachment to it should be this then, and I should get this then. And that was one of the lessons that I learned from, as I say, the scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, which was just, staying focused on your actions, but not the fruits of your action. And there's a particular verse in there which talks about that. It's like, just let that be. You do what's in your control. Like, you show up, you take the action, do the hard things, feel the discomfort. It's not always going to be easy, but just let go. What will be, will be. That really is my guiding compass. And that's what I teach the kiddos. It's just freeing because I'm their role model. And again, that's a big part of this version of me that says, oh gosh, like how I am is what they'll see, and their perception of life and being and navigating all the things, school, relationships, friendships. I want them to connect with what feels good for them and not what they should do and what other people are doing. It's like, yeah, but it's like, no, but what feels good for you? What does your heart say? It's almost like heart and head. I think I've reversed it. It's like head was guiding the way, and I think now it's very much heart's guiding the way.
Yeah. And I'm curious, what has that given you? What benefits do you find from letting your heart lead the way rather than your head? And I think too, for everyone listening who is maybe letting their head lead the way and is very much doing and collecting. And again, not that there's anything wrong with that, not that that's a bad way of doing things. I think about when that was my focus as well. I certainly couldn't have imagined it any different. I couldn't have imagined operating in any different way. And when I started both therapy and coaching, I remember just talking about that, saying, like, I don't want to be doing this, but I don't know anything else. I don't know any other way. Like, isn't it the best way to be operating, to be producing and winning all the time and achieving and accomplishing, right? Like, that's the best. Why would I do it any differently? Until I discovered that that was the best, like you said, at that time for me. And, it's something different for me now. But I'm curious for you, like, it sounds like a very different compass that you're following. What's different? Tell us more about like the impact of it.
I think really it's an element of identity. It's just this inner knowing. And again, like I know it might be that I've shared so much that is like you can't put your finger on it. And I was like, I love to be quite practical as well. But when you connect with your breath, when you connect with your heart, when you can feel your energy radiating in your body, just shifts so much. Like you create this identity of yourself where it's almost like you feel like you're a walking miracle. I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is amazing. And yet I think we limit ourselves so much because of the identity. But I think that that's been the key thing for me. It's just like connecting to an identity of myself, which is just like, wow, like I'm a human being. Like, but I describe it as I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Like I've been given this gift and I get to use it. I get to use it to make an impact and a difference in such a loving way to help others. And it radiates. So I think that's the impact. It's like if I feel it, other people feel it. And I think that's just amazing. It's like we're all here to do something. We're all here to be somebody on this planet. Why wouldn't we be the version we want to be? Because life's too short. Life is too short to make it anything but that. That's the thing. And I think if I could describe it in one word, the word that's coming from me right now is almost like it's two actually. It's just this awareness. So it's like eyes wide awake and freedom.
I love it. I can feel it radiating through the microphone.
Even over the camera. Yeah.
even I can feel it. I mean, I guess what I hear you saying, I can't think of a word exactly for it, but I guess like the word that's coming to me is like joy. It's like being able to enjoy it, to engage with life in a way where it's like, I'm not just doing it to go through the motions. I'm not just going along and checking the boxes and going through and then aging and getting to the end of my life and being like, what did I just do? It's like, no, I'm like engaging and enjoying that journey so much because it's like I'm so lit up is what I hear you saying. Like I'm just like lit up about the process of it and being able to enjoy those moments of spending time with kids, being outside in nature, being with yourself, right? Like whatever it might be, it's a very different experience than the doing, hustling, going, running, kind of constantly and not really in a way where you feel engaged and lit up.
Yeah, I love that. That took me to, it's not necessarily my business name, but every so often I will use my business name, Yoga Life with Nemisha. So after I did my 200-hour yoga teacher training, so I did my coaching, then I did my meditation, then I did my yoga training. But the word yoga actually means union, and it's union of mind, body, soul, spirit, whatever you believe in. But it was like yoga life. And yoga, again, according to yoga philosophy, is more than just postures on a yoga mat. It's a way of life. It's a way of being in life, experiencing life. That's the concept for me. Yoga life. It's like yoga living. So you're living eyes wide open. You're living consciously. You're living in the present moment. You're living unattached. You're living from your heart. You're living with abundance. You're living mindfully, experiencing all of it, the good, the not so good, and everything in between, just as it is. And so that really is the premise. It's of what shifted for me. It's living a yoga way of life.
Yeah, I love that. Well, how can people work with you? Where can they find you? Tell us a little bit more about the work that you're doing now and how people might engage with you.
I'm online, so people can find me on all the socials. Nemisha Patel Owen is the handle and the name. So on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. So my YouTube channel is Yoga Life with Nemisha. I have lots of meditations on there, very short, simple guided meditations, because that's what I'm about. I work with clients one-on-one from a coaching perspective and also meditation. And I run meditation classes and workshops. And yeah, currently doing a 6-week introduction to meditation journey as well, which is online and in person.
Love it. Well, we'll link everything in the show notes as well so that people can find you and, if they're want to engage with you in this work. Is there anything else that you would want to share with us before we sign off? Because I know we've got to pick up the kids from school and
this is what's happening. What a beautiful conversation we've had. Thank you for this space. I think I would just say, if I may, is don't underestimate the power of a deep breath in order to connect with yourself. Sometimes as mums, as leaders, we are in the thick of it. And I promise you, everything I've shared, I am not perfect. I'm not polished. I have the moments. The kids challenge me, business challenges me. I really have to do my own stuff as well. I get overwhelmed. I find it difficult to make decisions and all the things, but I tune into what works for me. And what works for me is, as I say, the power of a deep breath. So really taking a moment to take some deep breaths, connect with your heart, hands on your heart, whatever that might be. Move your body. Put on a upbeat track, put on a mantra music, put rain music on, whatever feels good for you. But don't underestimate a really instant shift that can happen by connecting with your body in whatever way feels right for you, wherever you are in the moment. And there's no right way. Just do it, experience it, see what works. And keep doing it until you're like, oh, I really did notice. I felt calmer. My shoulders relaxed. I responded and normally I would have reacted like this. Whatever it might be, just take that time to pause.
I love it.
It can change so much. It really can. And it's so beautiful for the children to see because this is what we want from them as well. We want them to not react and to really connect with themselves and make decisions that work for them and feel good for them as well. And calm for me is the best emotion in our home life. If we're calm, life is good. Now, don't get me wrong, there are all the other emotions as well. But if we can get to a place of calm, there's nothing really we can't work through. That's my little takeaway.
I love it. Well, thank you so, so much for coming on the show, for sharing your story. And also you have a podcast, yes?
Oh, yes. I do have a podcast, which is called Live Your True Self. That is available also wherever you listen to your podcast. Please find that. Lots of lovely nuggets to connect with who you truly are. So
I love your podcast. So if anyone, obviously we're talking to podcast listeners, so definitely go check out Nemisha's podcast. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Nemisha, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for listening to Leadership and Motherhood. I genuinely hope you're walking away with something helpful that will positively impact your life. If this podcast resonates with you, it would mean the world to me if you'd support the show by leaving a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify, sharing an episode you loved with someone you care about, and/or by following the show. I hope you'll join me again next week, and until then, I'm wishing you all the best in this season of your one and only precious life.